Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all for today's Shastri class. So we're continuing from 11th chapter, text number 52. Or 53. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Sudarshamidam Rupam Drushtavanasi Yanmama Deva Apasya Rupasya Nityam Darshanakankshini. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form which is so dear.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat. In the 40th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna concluded revealing his universal form and informed Arjun that this form is not possible to be seen by many pious activities, sacrifices. Now, here is word Su Darshanam. Su Darsham. Darsham, sorry. Su Darshanam. Indicating Krishna's two. Prabhuji, did we read this yesterday?
Or not?
Did we read this yesterday? I think yesterday we read this.
So I explained this verse?
Yeah.
Okay. 53. We'll take now 53 then.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Naham veda tapasa nadanena chechaya shakyam evam vido drashtum drushtavanasi mam yatha. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am.
Krishna first appeared before his parents Devaki and Vasudev in a four-handed form, and then he transferred himself into the two-handed form. This mystery is very difficult to understand for those who are atheists or who are devoid of devotional service. For scholars who have simply studied Vedic literature by way of grammatical knowledge or mere academic qualifications, Krishna is not possible to understand, nor is he to be understood by persons who officially go to the temple to offer worship. They make their visit, but they cannot understand Krishna as he is. Krishna can be understood only through the path of devotional service, as explained by Krishna himself in the next verse.
So, in this verse, Krishna is telling by what he cannot be achieved. So, studying Vedas only by doing tapasya, only by giving charity, or only by worshipping, one cannot obtain the mercy of Lord. So, then what is that which is missing in these processes? Apparently, we get attracted by these processes many a times. Like, in temple, there is yajna suppose happening. Then everybody loves to attend that yajna process. Or everybody wants to participate in that yajna. Everybody wants to hear those Vedic mantras which are chanted with a great meter and other things. People get mesmerized by that. So the yogic Brahmanas, they were also doing such a big yajnas. And Krishna and his friends were hungry. So he asked his friends to go and approach these Brahmanas who are worshipping anyway, ultimately to him only, to offer the offering which they have prepared for the yajna. So when these boys went to ask, the yogic Brahmanas, they at once denied them to give them any offering. So when one doesn't know the purpose of yajna and one does superficially with ultra meticularity, still he will fail to achieve the desired goal, that is love for Krishna. So that yajna could not offer them love for Lord. But on the other hand, when the boys approached the wives of yogic Brahmanas, immediately they got the offering. And the wives of the Brahmanas, they did not get scared of their husbands. What will be their reaction? To please Krishna, they were ready to forego uh, the rules of family life and all that. So that was their dedication to Krishna. So every day we chant Hare Krishna. That is also called as a yajna. So the yajna which are there is fire sacrifice and all, how much it attracts our heart. More than that, our heart should get attracted to the holy name which we chant every day. So our Yajna is our feedback. Holy names are our offerings. So we should be getting attracted to the holy names. Or sometimes we may chant 2 hours, 3 hours in hallucination. We even sometimes forget that for whom I chanted. Then such a dry chanting also will not give us a desired benefit. So all these activities which Krishna is mentioning, dan, tapasa, ijja and all that, they are to enhance our Krishna consciousness. So these are the methods, bona fide methods to remember Krishna. But when they become dry or mechanical, or just for doing, we are doing these things for the namesake, then such a spiritual practices with utmost care, even if somebody performs, he will not get the desired results. So the main ingredient of doing all the spiritual activities is to remember Krishna. If that is not happening, then these are all like the husk which has no grain. So when there is no Krishna in Dan, when there is no Krishna in tapasya, when there is no Krishna in worship, when there is no Krishna in studying Vedas, then all it is just a hard labor. Shrama eva hi kevalam. So if there is no utpatti for Hari, that there is no prema for Lord Hari, then these all things are just exhausting. So that's why Lord is telling here, clearly is telling that I cannot be achieved by these processes which are apparently spiritual, but if there is no Krishna in it or no, there is no essence in it, then it all will become dry, and Krishna will not be achieved. So sometimes, we practice spiritual life without being conscious. And sometimes we become very superficial in performing devotional service. We lose the purpose of why we are doing the activity. If we don't remember what is the essence, what is we just follow the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law, then everything is a failure. Like a temple, suppose in temple they appointed some security guard. They asked that security guard to keep watch on people, that they should remove their shoes here. They made that law and they told this to that watchman. So the watchman was every person, he was, guiding them that to remove shoes here. So one family, they removed their shoes in the car only, and they came with bare feet to enter in temple. But the watchman, he just got the rule that people should remove shoes here. So he asked those people, "Where are your shoes?" Then those people said that our shoes are in our car. So he told that no, no, you cannot remove your shoes anywhere. You have to remove shoes here. So he made them to bring those shoes and remove there, and then only he allowed them to enter inside temple. So that means what? This person who was following the laws, he didn't understood the spirit of the law. He was just following blindly the letter of the law. So that's why it is very important. What is a Yukta Vairagya and what is Falgu Vairagya? We have to understand. We cannot become casual also, and neither we can become mechanical also. We have to have balance of following rules, regulations, and becoming Krishna conscious. The priority has to be decided. So the priority of utmost all principles to follow is Smartavyam Satatam Vishnu Vismartavyam na Jatuj. So these are the priorities of do's and don'ts. So the priority of do's is always remember Krishna, Smartavyam Satatam Vishnu. And the essence of all don'ts is never forget Krishna. So these rules are the king of all rules, and all other rules are subservient to these rules. So if somebody is doing tapasya, somebody is doing ijja, somebody is doing Veda, studies of Vedas and all that, but he is not coming to the essence of remembering Krishna, then all these activities are superficial. And somebody is thinking that I am remembering Krishna, that's why I will not do these things. These things are superficial. Then his devotional life also is ultra superficial. He is doubly superficial. So actually, what we are recommending, not to do Vedas or not to do Yagyas, not to do Dan, Tap, but Krishna is expecting from us, while doing these things, we should remember the essence. And if we don't catch the essence, then these things will not yield devotional service. So that's what Krishna is guarding us in this verse. And now next verse Krishna will tell that how we can achieve love for Godhead by doing these things which he is mentioning in the verse 54. Bhaktya tunanyashakya ahameva vidhorjuna kyatum drashtum tattvena praveshtum cha parantapa. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way you can enter into the mystery of my understanding. Yes. Krishna, somebody is reading?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvatana. Purport. Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. He explicitly explains this in this verse so that unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process will know that they are simply wasting their time. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents in a four-handed form and at once change himself into a two-handed form. These things are very difficult to understand by study of the Vedas or by philosophical speculation. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that no one can see him or enter into understanding of these matters. Those who, however, are very experienced students of Vedic literatures, Prabhuji, can you please scroll? Uh, can Vedic literatures can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principles described in the authoritative literature. One can perform penance in accordance with those principles. For example, to undergo serious penances, one may observe fasting on Janmashtami, the day on which Krishna appeared, and on the 2 days of Ekadashi, the 11th day after the new moon and the 11th day after the full moon. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in his devotional service to spread the Krishna philosophy or Krishna consciousness throughout. Uh, what it is? Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity. Lord Chaitanya was appeared. Lord Chaitanya was appreciated by Rupa Goswami as the most munificent man of charity because love of Krishna, which is very difficult to achieve, was distributed freely by him. So, if one gives some amount of his money to persons involved in distributing Krishna consciousness, the charity given to spread Krishna consciousness is the greatest charity in the world. And one and if one worship as prescribed in the temples in India, there is always some statue, usually of Vishnu or Krishna. That is a chance to progress by offering worship and respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the beginners in devotional service to the Lord, temple worship is essential. And this is, can you please scroll? And this is confirmed in the Vedic literature. Shweta, Shvetavatra Upanishad 6.23. यशश्च देवे परभक्तिर यथा देवे तथा गुरौ तस्यैते कथित हि अर्थात प्रकर्षन्ते महात्मना. One who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by spiritual master in whom he has similar unflinching faith, can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. One cannot understand Krishna by mental speculation. For one who does not take personal training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word tu is specially used here to indicate that no other process can be used, can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna. The personal forms of Krishna, the two-handed form and the four-handed, are described as Sudur-darshanam, very difficult to see. They are completely different from the temporary universal form shown to Arjuna. The four-handed form of Narayana and the two-handed form of Krishna are eternal and transcendental, whereas the universal form exhibited to Arjuna is temporary. The words Tvat anyena na drishta purvam, text 47, state that before Krishna, no one had seen that universal form. Also,
Before
they
Arjuna.
suggested that, sorry,
Before Arjuna.
that before Arjuna, no one had seen the universal form. Also, they suggested that amongst devotees, there are no necessity of showing it. That form was exhibited by Krishna at the request of Arjuna, so that in the future, when one represent him as an uh, incarnation of God, people can ask to see his universal form. The word na, used repeatedly in the previous verse, indicates that one should not be very much proud to such credentials as an academic education in Vedic literature. One must take to the devotional service of Krishna. Only then can one attempt to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Krishna changes from the universal form to the four-handed form of Narayana and then to his own natural form of two hands. This indicates that the four-handed form, other forms mentioned in the Vedic literatures, are all emanations of the original two-handed Krishna. He is the origin of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms. What to speak of the impersonal conception? As far as the four-handed forms of Krishna are concerned, it is stated clearly that even the most identical four-handed form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who is lying on the cosmic ocean and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord, as stated in the Brahma Samhita 5.48. Yes.
यस्यैकनिष्ठकालम् अथावलम्ब्य जीवन्ति लोमविलजा जगदण्डनाथ विष्णुर्महान् स हि वयस्कलाविशेष गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमेव भजामि.
Thank you, Prabhupada. The Mahavishnu, into whom all the innumerable universes enter and from whom they come forth again simply by his breathing process, is a plenary expansion of Krishna. Therefore, I worship Govinda, Krishna, the cause of all causes. Therefore, one should conclusively worship the personal form of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has eternal bliss and knowledge. He is the source of all forms of Vishnu. He is the source of all forms of incarnation. And he is the original Supreme Personality, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Vedic literature, uh, Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.1, the following statement appears. Sachidananda Rupaya Krishna Krishnayaklishtkarine Namo Vedanta Vedaya Gurave Buddhi Shakshine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Krishna, who has a transcendental form of bliss, eternity, and knowledge. I offer my respect to him because understanding him means understanding the Vedas, and he is therefore the supreme spiritual master. Then it is also said, Krishna ve Paramam Daivatam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.3 Eko Vasi Sarvagaha Krishna Idyaha Ekopi San Bahudaha Yo Vabhati. That one Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he is worshipable. Although he is one, he is manifested in unlimited forms and expanded incarnations. Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.21. The Brahma Samhita 5.1 says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, who has a body of eternity. Please scroll. Eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He has no beginning, for he is the beginning of everything. He is the cause of all causes. In the Vishnu Purana 4.11.4, it is said, Yatra Vatir Nam Krishnakhyam Param Brahma Narakriti. The Supreme Absolute Truth is a person. His name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on the earth. Similarly, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find description of all kinds of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in this list, the name of Krishna also appears. But then, it is said that Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Eti Tamsha Kalaha Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Mata Parataram Nanyat. There is nothing superior to my form as the personality of Godhead Krishna. He also says elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Adir Hi Devanam. I am the origin of all the demigods. And after understanding Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, Arjuna also confirms this in the following words: Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. I I now fully understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, and that you are the refuge of everything. Therefore, the universal form which Krishna showed to Arjuna is not the original form of God. The original is the Krishna form. The universal form with its thousands and thousands of heads and hands, is manifest just to draw the attention of those who have no love for God. It is not God's original form. The universal form is not attractive for pure devotees who are in love with the Lord in different transcendental relationships. The Supreme Godhead exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjuna, uh, who was so intimately related with Krishna in friendship, the form of the universal manifestation was not pleasing. Rather, it was fearful. Arjuna, who was a constant companion of Krishna's, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man. Therefore, he was not captivated by the universal form. The form may seem wonderful to persons who are involved in elevating themselves by fruitive activities. But to persons who are engaged in devotional service, the the two-handed form of Krishna is the most dear. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
This verse is very amazing. So was given such a big purport to emphasize the supremacy of devotional service. So, devotional service cannot be achieved by innovative studies also. Neither we can achieve devotional service by doing a lot of austerities, or we can achieve devotional service by giving a lot of charity, and we cannot achieve devotional service by doing elaborate worship. Because there are many scholars who have studied spiritual books from A to Z, but still they are not able to give up their material attachments. Some people got big doctorate in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and all that, but they are chain smokers. They could not give up even their smoking habit also. But they know everything what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, what Rupa Goswami said, and all that. So why this elaborate study could not change their heart? Because they did not receive bhakti element in their life. So there are people who give big charities, like Bill Gates and all those people, even Microsoft or other companies, CSR, they give a lot of funds to many organizations. But does that bring devotional service in their hearts by giving such a big charity? No. They don't, they live as a normal person even after giving so much charity. So charity given for Krishna with the right understanding, with the devotion, that only gives one purity in their heart. That time only can awaken. So while giving charity also, one should give in a mode of goodness. Charity should be given not to gain name and fame, but charity should be given for the benefit and for the purpose to serve Krishna alone. So that is a charity. And tapasya, there are many people who are fasting, there are many people who are doing a lot of austerities. Some people do, Amanu person for the cause of, their caste people, or some other reason. But they cannot do Ekadashi day fasting. They will run for marathons. Like there are many people running for some cause, some marathon they start now and then, but they don't participate in Rath Yatra or they don't participate in Dindi, which is for Lord. They say when Dindi comes, they say, "Arey, what is this? This illiterate people are walking and they are making road jam and all that." But when they do their marathons, they jam so many roads. When President Prime Minister comes, that time whole road is blocked. that time nobody says anything. But when there is a Rath Yatra of Jagannath or some festival we do, that time people have a big hue and cry. So that's why these austerities which are not around Krishna, not for the pleasure of Krishna, they have no meaning. So worship, Lord doesn't see what ingredients we are offering. Lord sees with what intention we are offering. The elaborate worship of Chappan Bhogs done by Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, that could not please Krishna. But the simple offering done by Vidurani, that to banana peels, attracted Krishna. So that doesn't mean we should offer banana peels to Krishna, but we should learn a lesson that whatever we are offering with the best of our capacities, with that we have to add a favorable heart. Without that, doing chanting, doing reading, doing Bhakti Shastri, whatever we are doing, if we are not having desire to please Krishna, then this is just a failure. We may get certificate, but what is the use of that certificate? If we don't become devotees of Krishna. So attending class or whatever, these all things, we should not make it mechanical, So we should derive inspiration and we should become devotees of Krishna. Then these all endeavors are successful. So Prabhupada has so mercifully given us all these elements of Gyan, Tapasya, Dan, worship, and all these things. He made it so Krishna conscious that by default, we will become devotees of Krishna. So the bhakti element, if it misses out, it is not there in these all austerities and studies and all those things, then there is no benefit actually one will get. So bhakti is only what can take us towards Krishna. So that's why Lord is telling Bhaktya Turanya Shakya. Only by devotional service, one can understand Krishna, one can see Krishna, one can realize Krishna, and one can make one's life perfect. So this devotional service is not available by mental speculation. This devotional service not available by one's self endeavors. So this devotional service is available only by the mercy of Krishna and his devotees. Bhakti, bhakta sanjayate bhakti. By the mercy of Vaishnavas, by the mercy of Lord, then only one can get the devotional service. Not by one's immense endeavors or any other process. So that's why Brahmaji also prays in Bhagavatam. ज्ञाने प्रयासमुदपस्य नमन्त एव जीवन्ति सन्मुखरितां भवदीयवार्तां स्थाने स्थिता श्रुतिगतां तनुवाङ्मनोभिर् ये प्रायशो अजितो जितोपसि त्रैस्थलोक्यम्. Yes, somebody can read translation.
Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge and with their body, words, and mind offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship. Although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the free.
So the Krishna who is unconquerable can get conquered, not by tapasya, not by jnana, not by dan, not by worship. So how he can get conquered? When we give oral reception to the nectarian pastimes of Krishna's activities with his devotees. So this is the essence in devotional service. When we are properly hear from the spiritual authorities or from Lord or from his bona fide representatives, then only we can understand the essence of devotional service. Otherwise, we may superficial form we may imitate, but if there is no devotional service in that, it will just be hollow. There will be no meaning to it. You know. So that's why the main ingredient of all our endeavors should be Krishna consciousness. That we are having a favorable desire to please Krishna by our endeavors. That is the essence of devotional service. You know, so Krishna sees our effort. He doesn't see success or failure. He just sees our endeavors. Like Jatayu, he tried to save Mother Sita, but apparently he failed. You know, his endeavors, he tried his best, but he could not get the success of saving Mother Sita. But in the eyes of Lord, although he is a failure materially, but spiritually in the eyes of Krishna, he is a great success. He is a great success. He achieved a great success. So much so that Lord does his last rites, which he could not do to his own father, that is Dashrath Maharaj. But here, Jatayu, a bird, she got that fortune. So that's what, Krishna is so great, so magnanimous. He doesn't see our results, he just sees our endeavors. So we are endeavoring in right direction. If sometimes we may achieve success and we become proud that I am successful, but amazingly, Krishna will be escaped from our superficial success. Lord is such an amazing personality. The gopis thought that Krishna is with us, so he immediately disappeared from them. Then what to speak about us? If such a exalted devotees, if they become proud that Krishna is with me, actually they are not proud, but they are setting example for us. So that much Lord is so meticulous about his devotees' hearts. He doesn't tolerate any iota of ego, any iota of pride. He loves the simplicity of his devotees' hearts. So much so that Lord tells Yogakshamam Vahamyam, that I will give what they lack and I will preserve what they have. But for whom? The first line also is important. Ananya Chintayanto Ma. The Lord is telling Ananya with desperateness, without any other shelters, exclusively taking shelter of Krishna. When we perform devotion service, we achieve the real love for Krishna. So that's why this bhakti has to be in bona fide sampradaya, not a mental concoction. Anybody cries, he should not think I am bhakti, doing bhakti. Anybody does all other things and they think they are bhakti. That is bhakti. No. Bhakti has to be defined by the devotees and we have to practice that under the guidance. Then only it will become bhakti. Then only it will become devotional service. Whatever comes in our mind, we execute that. That is not a devotional service. So whatever comes in the minds of pure devotees, whatever comes in the minds of Krishna, that if we are aligned to it, and we are trying to sacrifice our life, energy, endeavors to make that as a life and goal, then only we can achieve the love for Krishna. Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasad. By the mercy of devotees, we can get the mercy of Krishna. So devotees are not exploitative. If anybody is exploiting on the name of Krishna, he is the greatest cheater actually. He is not representing Krishna. He is not representing Krishna. Anybody is taking advantage from the devotees, then he is just a great fool. So real devotees will never take advantage from us. They will never like to exploit us. Rather, they will like to give us Krishna. आमी तो कांगाल ढाई तो पाचे पाचे, कृष्ण से तोमार कृष्ण दिते पार. So spiritually we are just poverty stricken, and the wealthy are the devotees, and we should run behind them because they have Krishna, so they will give us Krishna. So pure devotees like Prabhupada and all acharyas, they are carrying Krishna, so they can give us Krishna if we sincerely like to serve them and follow their instructions. So this is a path of devotion. So that's why we should be very careful that we don't become superficial devotees. On the name of bhakti, we should not become lack in following scriptural injunctions. Neither we should not take spiritual instruction to so extremely mechanically we follow that we forget the essence. So these both things we have to avoid. Becoming casual and becoming superficial. We have to balance out. That is called a Yukta Vairagya. So here Rupa Goswami has given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu what is real Vairagya and what is a Falgu Vairagya. Anasakta Shavsyan Yataharam Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate प्रापंचिकतया बुद्ध्या हरिसंबंधी वस्तुना मुमुक्षुभि परित्यागो वैराग्यम फल्गु कथेते. Yes, somebody can read.
When one is not attached to anyone, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.255
So, what is the essence of Yukta Vairagya is that whatever we are attached, that attachment should be total towards Krishna. Like we are attached to so many things. We want nice facilities, we want nice food, we want nice clothes, we want everything nice actually for ourselves. Then when that attachments we total towards Krishna, that let me give nice things to Lord, let me offer me him nice things. So when we total these attachments towards Krishna, then that is a Vairagya, that is Yukta Vairagya, that is real renunciation. Like Dhruva Maharaj, he performed penances to get bigger kingdom than his great grandfather. But when he got devotional service, he immediately felt that this, what I was asking, it was like a broken pieces of glasses. But Lord made him a king for another long span of life of his. So when he became king, that did not enter in his head that I have become king. But although he was having a position of king, he was not attached to that kingdom. Rather, he was understanding that this kingdom is given in my custody and I should serve this kingdom nicely on behalf of Krishna. And that way he was engaging that kingly position with a renunciation. He was not enjoying the objects of senses, but rather he was totaling those objects in the service of Krishna's senses. So that is Yukta Vairagya. So we like music, so we should make a music for Krishna. We like so many things, so we should offer it to Krishna. So that is a Yukta Vairagya. And think that everything is material and one doesn't want to engage that in Krishna service, then that will become a Falgu Vairagya. Everything is thinking as a material. So somebody is a family man, he should understand that the family members which are given in his custody, they are the properties of Krishna. So he should not become a false renunciate and neglect serving them. Rather, he should dawdle them in the service of Krishna. So, like that, anything we get, we have good voice, then we should not reject it, but we should dawdle that good voice for Krishna's singing. So, everything, whatever we possess, we should engage in Lord's service. That is actual renunciation. So, we have to renounce the enjoying mentality, but we should not renounce the serving mentality. Serving Krishna is a right attachment, and giving up self gratification, that is right detachment. So that things we should learn by in the guidance of Krishna's devotees, and Prabhupada has so elaborately explained about the elements of devotional service in this purport that by just studying it nicely, we can practice Krishna consciousness with the right spirit to get the desired goal of Krishna play. And text 55. Mad karma kruta mad paramo mad bhakta sangha varjita nirvaira sarvabhuteshu yasa mameti pandava. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contamination of futile activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me.
Hare Krishna. Anyone who wants to approach the supreme of all the personalities of Godhead on the Krishna Loka planet in the spiritual sky and be intimately connected with Supreme Personality Krishna must take this formula as stated by the Supreme himself. Therefore, this verse is considered to be the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is a book directed to the conditioned souls who are engaged in the material world with purpose of lording it over nature and who do not know of the real spiritual life. The Bhagavad Gita is meant to show how one can understand his spiritual existence and his eternal relationship with Supreme Spiritual Personality, and to teach one how to go back home, back to Godhead. Now, here is the verse which clearly explains the process by which one can attain success in his spiritual activity, devotional service. As far as work is concerned, one should transfer his energy entirely to Krishna conscious activities. As stated in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.255, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatharham Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. No work should be done by any man except in relationship to Krishna. This is called Krishna Karma. One may be engaged in various activities, but one should not be attached to the result of his work. The result should be done only for him. For example, one may be engaged in business, but to transform that activity into Krishna consciousness, one has to do business for Krishna. If Krishna is the proprietor of the business, then Krishna should enjoy the profit of the business. If a businessman is in possession of thousands and thousands of dollars, and if he has to offer all this to Krishna, he can do it. This is work for Krishna. Instead of constructing a big building for his self gratification, he can construct a nice temple for Krishna, and he can install the deity of Krishna and arrange for the deity's service as is outlined in the authorized books of devotional service. This is all Krishna karma. One should not be attached to the results of his work, but the results should be offered to Krishna, and one should accept as prasadam the remnants of offerings to Krishna. If one constructs a very big building for Krishna and installs the deity of Krishna, one is not prohibited from living there, but it is understood that the proprietor of the building is Krishna. That is called Krishna consciousness. If, however, one is not able to construct a temple for Krishna, one can engage himself in cleansing the temple of Krishna. That is also Krishna karma. One can cultivate a garden. Anyone who has land in India, at least any poor man, has a certain amount of land, can utilize that for Krishna by growing flowers to offer him. He can sow tulsi plants because tulsi leaves are very important, and Krishna has recommended this in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Krishna desires that one offer him either a leaf or a flower or fruit or a little water, and by such an offering he is satisfied. This leaf specially refers to the tulsi. So one can sow tulsi and pour water on the plant. Thus, even the poorest man can engage in the service of Krishna. These these are some of the examples of how one can engage in working for Krishna. The word mat parmaha refers to one who considers the association of Krishna in his supreme abode to be the highest perfection of life. Such a person does not wish to be elevated to the higher planets, such as the moon or sun or heavenly planets, or even the highest planet of this universe, Brahmaloka. He has no attraction for that. He is only attracted to being transferred to the spiritual sky. And even in the spiritual sky, he is not satisfied with merging into the glowing Brahmajyoti effulgence, for he wants to enter the highest spiritual planet, namely Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. He has full knowledge of that planet, and therefore he is not interested in any other. As indicated by the word Mad Bhakta, he fully engages in devotional service, specifically in the 9 processes of devotional engagement: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering prayers, carrying out the orders of the Lord, making friends with Him, and surrendering everything to Him. One can engage in all 9 devotional processes, or 8 or 7, or at least in one, and that will surely make one perfect. The term Sangha Varjitaha is very significant. One should disassociate himself from the persons who are against Krishna. Not only are the atheistic persons against Krishna, but so also are those who are attracted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. Therefore, the pure form of devotional service is described in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.1.11 as follows: Anyabhilashita Sunyam Jnana Karmadya Anavratam Anukulena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktiruttama. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami clearly states that if anyone wants to execute unalloyed devotional service, he must be freed from all kinds of material contamination. He must be freed from the association of persons who are addicted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. When freed from such unwanted association and from the contamination of material desires, one favorably cultivates knowledge of Krishna, that is called pure devotional service. Anukulasya Sankalpa Pratikulasya Varjanam. Hari Bhakti Vilas 11.676. One should think of Krishna and act for Krishna favorably, not unfavorably. Kamsa was an enemy of Krishna's. From the very beginning of Krishna's birth, Kamsa planned in so many ways to kill him. And because he was always unsuccessful, he was always thinking of Krishna. Thus, while working, while eating, while sleeping, he was always Krishna conscious in every respect. But that Krishna consciousness was not favorable. And therefore, in spite of his always thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day he was considered a demon, and Krishna at last killed him. Of course, anyone who is killed by Krishna attains salvation immediately, but that is not the aim of a pure devotee. The pure devotee does not even want salvation. He does not want to be transferred even to the highest planet Golok Vrindavan. His only objective is to serve Krishna wherever he may be. A devotee of Krishna is friendly to everyone. Therefore, it is said here that he has no enemy, nirvaira. How is this? A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotional service to Krishna can relieve a person from all problems of life. He has personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce this system, Krishna consciousness, into human society. There are many examples in history of devotees of the Lord who risked their life for the spreading of God consciousness. The favorite example is Lord Jesus Christ. He was crucified by the non-devotees, but he sacrificed his life for spreading God consciousness. Of course, it would be superficial to understand that he was killed. Similarly, in India, also there are many examples such as Thakur Haridas and Prahlad Maharaj. Why such risk? Because they wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and it is difficult. A Krishna conscious person knows that if a man is suffering, it is due to his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. Therefore, the highest benefit one can render to the human society is relieving one's neighbor from all material problems. In such a way, a pure devotee is engaged in the service of the Lord. Now we can imagine how merciful Krishna is to those engaged in his service, risking everything for him. Therefore, it is certain that such persons must reach the supreme planet after leaving the body. In summary, the universal form of Krishna, which is a temporary manifestation, and the form of time, which devours everything, and even the form of Vishnu, four-handed, have all been exhibited by Krishna. Thus, Krishna is the origin of all these manifestations. It is not that Krishna is a manifestation of the original Vishwarup or Vishnu. Krishna is the origin of all forms. There are hundreds and thousands of Vishnus, but for a devotee, no form of Krishna is important, but the original form, two-handed Shyam Sundar. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that those who are attached to Shyam Sundar form of Krishna in love and devotion can see him always within the heart and cannot see anything else. One should understand, therefore, that the purport of this 11th chapter is that the form of Krishna is essential and supreme. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the universal form. Hare Krishna.
The Prabhupada has elaborated that what is a devotional service is, and what is Krishna's expectation from his devotees. So that expectation Lord has put in front of Arjuna, that my devotees should be free from contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, but they should be under guidance of bona fide devotees, perform devotional service, and make him as a supreme goal of their life. And by that way, they should be merciful to other living entities. Then when they spend such a life with devotion, then definitely they will come back to him, that is to his abode in Golok. So that is the essence Krishna has given in this chapter, and now this only is going to get elaborated in next chapter. So this universal form which Krishna exhibited, it is to make his supremacy, that the one who is speaking Gita, he is not an ordinary person, but that person who is speaking Gita, he has exhibited universal form. So he is so powerful. So he is not an ordinary person who is speaking these devotional elements. But Supreme Lord only has given us what is devotional service. So devotees are not interested in universal form. Devotees are happy and they are most relish the Lord's two-handed form. Because two-handed form of Lord we can reciprocate with. We can dress him, we can offer him obeisances, we can feed. What we can do with Vishwarup form? There is nothing, no reciprocation will happen with Vishwarup form. Vishwarup form, there is only one reciprocation, that he will destroy as a time. So better than that, we should engage ourselves in the divine devotional service by understanding that Krishna is the origin of everything, and that way we should understand that he is not only origin of everything, he is origin of the surrounded people of with whom I stay. They are also manufactured and maintained by him. So how I reciprocate with them, that is essential thing. So the real devotees will not have any iota of envy and other bad elements in their hearts. So that way this chapter is concluded. Now in 12th chapter, Lord will elaborately explain that what is a devotional service. Next one. Arjuna Vacha. Evam satati yukta ye bhaktastam paripasate ye chapraksharam vyaktam tesham ke yoga vittam. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Perfect. Krishna has now explained about the personal, the impersonal, and the universal, and has described all kinds of devotees and yogis. Generally, the transcendentalist can be divided into two classes. One is the impersonalist and the other is personalist. The personalist devotee engages himself with all energy in the service of the Supreme Lord. The impersonalist also engages himself not directly in the service of Krishna, but in meditation on the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested. We find in this chapter that of the different process for realization of the absolute truth, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service is the highest. If one at all desires to have the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he must take to devotional service. Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly by devotional service are called personalists. Those who engage themselves in meditation on the impersonal Brahman are called impersonalists. Arjuna is here questioning which position is better. There are different ways to realize the absolute truth. But Krishna indicates in this chapter that Bhakti Yoga or devotional service to him is the highest of all. It is the most direct and it is the easiest means for association with the Godhead. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord explained that a living entity is not the material body. He is a spiritual spark, and the absolute truth is a spiritual whole. In the seventh chapter, he spoke of the living entity as being part and parcel of the Supreme Whole and recommended that he transfer his attention fully to the whole. Then again, in the eighth chapter, it was said that anyone who thinks of Krishna at the time of quitting his body is at once transferred to the spiritual sky, to the abode of Krishna. And at the end of the sixth chapter, the Lord clearly said that of all yogis, one who always thinks of Krishna within himself is considered the most perfect. So, in practically every chapter, the conclusion has been that one should be attached to the personal form of Krishna, for that is the highest spiritual realization. Nevertheless, there are those who are not attached to the personal form of Krishna. They are so firmly detached that even in the preparation of commentaries to Bhagavad Gita, they want to distract other people from Krishna and transfer all devotion to the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. They prefer to meditate on the impersonal form of the absolute truth. which is beyond the reach of the senses and is not manifest. And so, factually, there are two classes of transcendentalists. Now, Arjuna is trying to settle the question of which process is easier and which of the classes is most perfect. In other words, he is clarifying his own position. Because he is attached to the personal form of Krishna, he is not attached to the impersonal Brahman. He wants to know whether his position is secure. The impersonal manifestation, either in this material world or in the spiritual world of the Supreme Lord, is a problem for meditation. Actually, one cannot perfectly conceive of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Therefore, Arjuna wants to say, what is the use of such a waste of time? Arjuna experienced in the 11th chapter that to be attached to the personal form of Krishna is best because he could thus understand. Arjuna experienced in the 11th chapter that to be attached to the personal form of Krishna is best because he could thus understand all other forms at the same time, and there was no disturbance to his love for Krishna. This important question asked of Krishna by Arjuna will clarify the distinction between the impersonal and personal conceptions of the absolute truth. Hare Krishna.
So, Arjuna is asking here, more perfect, those who are engaging in devotional service or those who engage in impersonal Brahman? So the path of devotional service is very easy, but why people are not interested? And the path of impersonal relation is so difficult, but many people are interested in it. So the difference is that although the path of devotional service is very easy, but one has to surrender. And surrendering is very difficult for the people who have false ego or those who have any ego, because they cannot surrender. But in the path of yoga and other processes, there is no question of surrendering ego. Rather, they have to have ego to exhibit that path. You will not find the yogis are doing Sankirtan. Every yogi will be individually sitting, making his own place, and he is doing his own, hard endeavors. Impersonalists, they want to make God only abstract. So they don't have to surrender anybody actually. Because to surrender, some person has to be there. But if you make the God only abstract, then there is no question of surrender only. And that is very solacing. Oh, I am saved. I can live with my false ego. So much so that the last snare of false ego is that to think that I am only God. So forget about surrendering, they are thinking themselves as a God. So it's a height of false ego. And that's why they're attached to that path which is so difficult. Nobody is successful there. Still they are attached because there is not a scratch to their false ego. And that's why majority people they go for it, they go for karma, they go for anything. Because as long as their false ego is satisfied, they get false ego is enhanced, or they are getting to think that they are only God, they are only controlling the entire creation, universe, whatever. Such a fontas magoria they are cooking themselves that they want to practice that path. But bhakti is not that illusory path. In devotional service, one has to give oneself. And one has to make Krishna as one's heart and soul, life and soul. And one has to become true ego one should get, that I am servant of Krishna. Jivera Swarup hai Krishna Nityadas. This ego one should have, that I am Krishna's. Krishna is mine. Like that, a devotee has to think. And then only he can give up material falsehood. So surrender, what is the nectar in surrender? That one cannot understand with falsehood. People in material world, people surrender to anybody, they always get exploited. More work and less salary. And employees want to exploit the employer by doing less and getting more salary. So they have exploitation business there. But in devotional service, a devotee gives himself to Krishna. And Krishna, when he sees that his devotees are doing so much for him, Krishna gives himself to them. So there is a competition between the devotees and the Lord to serve each other, so much so that at the end Krishna tells to gopis that please you be happy with your own devotional service. I have nothing to give you in return. Who is telling that? Who is telling this?
Krishna.
Krishna, who is Supreme Personality of God, who is the be all and end all of everything. He is telling that I don't have anything to give you in return. That is the exalted position of devotional service. We are not asking heaven, we are not asking anything to Krishna, we are asking Krishna only, not less than Krishna. So if somebody wants to become really selfish, then devotional service is a real selfishness. That is real for self, to get Krishna in our life. Getting other thing, this is just a phantasmagoria. That is an illusion. But to become devotee of Krishna, it's a real identity of a living entity. And this has to achieved by giving up falsehood, which very less people are ready to give up. They are ready to get beaten up, they are ready to get, do inhaling, exhaling, Hatha Yoga, this all Patanjali, everything they are, but not to surrender to Krishna. They want to become competitors of Krishna. Forget about cooperating with Krishna, but they want to become themselves as a Krishna. So such a illusion cannot give them satisfaction. So anybody who has surrendered to Krishna, they will not get exploited at all, because Krishna is not such a master. He is so malleable, he is so soft. His heart we have not understood. He is not a cheater, but he is very shrewd for those who try to mischievously take advantage of him. But for innocent devotees, for real devotees, he is unbelievably merciful and kind, so much so that he says that I have been captured by my devotees in their hearts. That Supreme Personality of Godhead dances on the tunes of gopis in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. They tell him that we'll give Sandesh, dance Krishna. Krishna dance. He is ready to dance to get small piece of sweet from the gopis. So that simple Lord is so difficult to achieve for the impersonalist, that ultimately they'll end up in effulgence of the Lord, where they perpetually exist without any devotion, without any emotion, nothing. So we should not try to choose that path. So we should follow the path of Mahajanas, which is given by the great Acharyas. And now that path will be elaborated by Krishna in this chapter. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Vesha Mano Ye Mam Nityukta Upasate Shraddhaya Paryopastaste Me Yuktatama Mata. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with a great and transcendental faith are considered considered by me to be most perfect. Yes.
Hare Krishna. In answer to Arjuna's question, Krishna clearly says that he who concentrates upon his personal form and who worships him with faith and devotion is to be considered most perfect in yoga. For one in such Krishna consciousness, there is no material activities because everything is done for Krishna. A pure devotee is constantly engaged. Sometimes he chants, sometimes he hears or reads books about Krishna, or sometimes he cooks prasadam or goes to the marketplace to purchase something for Krishna. Or sometimes he washes the temple or the dishes. Whatever he does not let a single moment pass without devoting his activities to Krishna. Such action is in full samadhi. Hare Krishna.
So Samadhi is not something a very difficult state. Samadhi is a state where one is spending every moment for Krishna's service. That is Samadhi. The gopis, they used to sit for Samadhi. For what? They are sitting Samadhi to forget Krishna. Because Krishna has conquered their mind so deep that when they go to Mathura to sell butter, milk, and curd, the pots are there on their head. They're supposed to shout, please take curd, milk. But they are so deep in their Krishna consciousness, instead of calling out curd, milk, they are calling out Govind Damodar Madhav. So, Krishna has reached in their life, in their heart, in their breath, that they cannot think anything other than Krishna. So, that is a state of Samadhi. Like Arjuna, when he is sleeping, from his every pore, Krishna's names are coming out. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So, how exalted these devotees are. So, we got one mouth which is officially supposed to vibrate. Yeah, this mouth also gives so much difficulty to us to chant Krishna's name. Forget about other pores of our body. But pure devotees, every inch of their body is chanting Krishna's name. So that much they are absorbed. So that absorption in Krishna consciousness attracts the most to Krishna. Etaksharam nirdesham avyaktam paripasate sarvatra gamichintam cha kutastham achalam dhruvam sanyemendriya gramam sarvatra sambuddhya te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hiteratha. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed, and immovable, the impersonal conception of absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such a person engaged in the welfare of all, at last achieve me.
Those who do not directly worship the Supreme Godhead, Krishna, but who attempt to achieve the same goal by an indirect process, also ultimately achieve the same goal. Shri Krishna, after many births, the man of wisdom seeks refuge in me, knowing that Vasudeva is all. When a person comes to full knowledge after many births, he surrenders unto Lord Krishna. If one approaches the Godhead by the method mentioned in this verse, he has to control the senses, render service to everyone and engage in the welfare of all beings. It is inferred that one has to approach Lord Krishna, otherwise, there is no perfect realization. Often, there is much penance involved before one fully surrenders unto Him. In order to perceive the super soul within the individual soul, one has to chase the sensual activities of seeing, hearing, tasting, working, etc. Then one comes to understand that the Supreme Soul is present everywhere. Realizing this, one envies no living entity. He sees no differences between man and animal because he sees soul only, not the outer covering. But for the common man, this method of impersonal realization is very difficult.
So bhakti is very easy, but the impersonal path is very, very difficult. क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखं देहवद्भिर्वाप्यते. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna Prabhuji. Purport. The group of transcendentalists who follow the path of inconceivable, unmanifested, impersonal features of the Supreme Lord are called Jnana Yogis, and persons who are in full Krishna consciousness, engaged in devotional service to the Lord, are called Bhakti Yogis. Now, here the difference between Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is definitely expressed. The process of Jnana Yoga, although ultimately bringing one to the same goal, is very troublesome, whereas the path of Bhakti Yoga, process of being in direct service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is easier and is natural for the embodied soul. The individual soul is embodied since time immemorial. It is very difficult for him to simply theoretically understand that he is not the body. Therefore, the Bhakti Yogi accepts the deity of Krishna as worshipable because there is some bodily conception fixed in the mind, which can thus be applied. Of course, worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his form within the temple is not idol worship. There is evidence in the Vedic literature that worship may be saguna or nirguna of the supreme possessing or not possessing attributes. Worship of the deity in the temple is saguna worship, for the Lord is represented by material qualities. But the form of Lord, though represented by material qualities such as the stone, wood, or oil paint, is not actually material. No. Sorry, Prabhuji. Worship of the deity in the temple is Saguna worship, for the Lord is represented by material qualities. But the form of the Lord, though represented by material qualities such as stone, wood, or oil paint, is not actually material. That is the absolute nature of the Supreme Lord. A, a crude example may be given here. We may find some mail boxes on the street, and if we post our letters in those boxes, they will naturally go to their destination without difficulty. But any old box or an imitation which we may find somewhere but which is not authorized by the post office will not do the work. Similarly, God has an authorized representation in the deity form, which is called Archa Vigraha. This Archa Vigraha is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. God will accept service through that form. The Lord is omnipotent, all powerful. Therefore, by his incarnation as Archa Vigraha, he can accept the services of the devotee just to make it convenient for the man in the conditioned life. So, for a devotee, there is no difficulty in approaching the Supreme immediately and directly. For those who are following the impersonal way to spiritual realization, the path is difficult. They have to understand the unmanifested representation of the Supreme through such Vedic literatures as the Upanishads, and they have to learn the language, understand the non perceptual feelings, and realize all these processes. This is not very easy for a common man. A person in Krishna consciousness, engaged in devotional service, simply by guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, simply by offering regulative obeisances unto the deity, simply by hearing the glories of the Lord, and simply by eating the remnants of foodstuffs offered to the Lord, realizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very easily. There is no doubt that the impersonalists are unnecessarily taking a troublesome path with the risk of not realizing the absolute truth at the ultimate end. But the personalist, without any risk, trouble, or difficulty, approaches the Supreme Personality directly. A similar passage appears in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is stated there that if one ultimately has to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this surrendering process is called bhakti, but instead takes the trouble to understand what is Brahman and what is not Brahman, and spends his whole life in that way, the result is simply troublesome. Therefore, it is advised here that one should not take up this troublesome path of self realization, because there is uncertainty in the ultimate result. A living entity is eternally an individual soul, and if he wants to merge into the spiritual whole, he may accomplish the realization of the eternal and knowledgeable aspects of his original nature. But the blissful portion is not realized. By the grace of some devotee, such a transcendentalist, highly learned in the process of Jnana Yoga, may come to the point of Bhakti Yoga or devotional service. At that time, long practice in impersonalism also becomes a source of trouble because he cannot give up the idea. Therefore, Therefore, an embodied soul is always in difficulty with the unmanifest, both at the time of practice and at the time of realization. Every living soul is partially independent, and one should know for certain that this unmanifested realization is against the nature of his spiritual blissful self. One should not take up this process. For every individual living entity, the process of Krishna consciousness, which entails full engagement in devotional service, is the best way. If one wants to ignore this devotional service, there is the danger of turning to atheism. Thus, the process of centering attention on the unmanifested, the unconceivable, which is beyond the approach of the senses, as already expressed in this verse, should never be encouraged at any time, especially in this age. It is not advised by Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna.
It is very, very difficult. So, for us, the easiest path is to follow the path given by bona fide devotees of the Lord. So that we should do. एतु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्परा अनन्येव योगेन मां ध्यायन्तु उपासते तेषाहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मया वेशितचेतसा. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, ocean of Parth, for them, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, is this a lot of noise? Can you hear me properly?
No. Yes.
Okay. It is explicitly stated here that the devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. In pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to him. His duty is to render service to the Lord, and if he does not, then he will render service to Maya. As stated before, the Supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. One should fix his mind fully on Krishna in order to achieve him. One should work only for Krishna. It does It does not matter in what kind of work one engages, but that work should be done only for Krishna. That is the standard of devotional service. The devotee does not desire any achievement than pleasing the Supreme Personality of God. His life's mission is to please Krishna, and he can sacrifice everything for Krishna's satisfaction, just as Arjun did in the battle of Kurukshetra. The process is very simple. One can devote himself in his occupation and engage at the same time in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Such transcendental chanting attracts the devotees to the personality of God. Hare Krishna. Oh. Supreme. Herein promises that without delay, he will deliver a pure devotee, thus engaged from the ocean of material existence. Those who are at those who are advanced in yoga practice are willfully transfer the soul to whichever planet, whatever planet they like by yoga process. And others take the opportunity in various ways. But as far as the devotee is concerned, it is clearly stated here that the Lord Himself takes him. The devotee does not need to wait to become very experienced in order to transfer himself in the spiritual sky. In the Varada Puran, this verse appears Nayami Paramam Sthanam Archir Adi Gatim Vina Garuda Skandham Aropya Yathecham Anivaritaha. The, the purport of this verse is that a devotee does not need to practice Ashtanga Yoga in order to transfer his soul to the spiritual planets. The responsibility is taken by the Supreme Lord Himself. He clearly states here that He Himself becomes the deliverer. A child is completely cared for by his parents, and thus his position is secure. Similarly, a devotee does not need to endeavor to transfer himself by yoga practice to other planets. Rather, the Supreme Lord, by his great mercy, comes at once, riding on his bird carrier, Garuda, and at once delivers the devotee from material existence. Although a man who has fallen in the ocean may struggle very hard and may be very expert in swimming, he cannot save himself. But if someone comes and picks up him from the water, then he is easily rescued. Roji, do you mind scrolling up? Yeah. Similarly, the Lord picks up the devotee from this material existence. One simply has to practice the easy process of Krishna consciousness and fully engage himself in devotional service. Any intelligent man should always prefer this process of devotional service to all the paths. In the Nara Naranya, this is confirmed as follows. Yavai sadhana sampatya purushartha chatushyate taya vina tat apnoti naro narayanashaya. The purport of this verse is that one should not engage in the different processes of fruitive activity or cultivate knowledge by the mental speculative process. One who is devoted to the Supreme Personality can attain all the benefits derived from other yogic processes, speculations, rituals, and sacrifices, charities, etc. That is the specific benediction of devotional service. Roshi, can next devotee please continue? There's a bit of noise here.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Simply by
Yes.
chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. A devotee of the Lord can approach the supreme destination easily and happily, but this destination cannot be approached by any other process of relation. The conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is stated in the 18th chapter. सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. One should give up all other processes of self-realization and simply execute devotional service in Krishna consciousness. That will enable one to reach the highest perfection of life. There is no need for one to consider the sinful actions of his past life because the Supreme Lord fully takes charge of him. Therefore, one should not futilely try to deliver himself in spiritual realization. Let everyone take shelter of the Supreme Omnipotent Godhead Krishna. That is the highest perfection of life.
So here, Lord is giving us easy process that whatever we do, we should think of Krishna. So like that, in all our activities, if we think about Krishna, then what Lord is promising? That I will deliver you from the cycle of birth and death. That too, Nachirat, within a very, very short time. So this is promise is made by Lord that I will deliver. But what is the condition? That we should think about Krishna in all our endeavors. So like somebody wants to climb the 100th floor, then he can climb by staircase. But that will take a lot of time. And sometimes they will get lost also. But if somebody takes the shelter of lift, then within a few moments or minutes, one can reach to the 100th floor. So bhakti is that elevating process, which elevates one quickly to the abode of the Lord. So in material world, people are not interested in Krishna. And secondly, Krishna will not force anybody. So then there is a deadlock actually. What is a deadlock? Krishna will not force. And these entities, these living entities don't want to surrender. Then what? Lord is in his abode. And these living entities who are against of Krishna, they will be eternally here in this material world. So how to break this deadlock? Anybody can answer how you will break this deadlock? That Lord will not force and these people will not surrender.
Through the devotee, intervention of devotee.
So the devotees are so kind that they will come and they will make us realize that we are stuck up in this material world. And they will put on behalf of us to Krishna. They will appeal for us to Krishna to shower his mercy upon us. So then when we surrender to Krishna through his devotees, then immediately Lord will, he will pick us from this cycle of birth and death. So some devotees are naturally devotees, and some devotees, they become devotees by the mercy of Supreme Lord. So that's why Enakena Prakarena Mana Krishna Nivesha. Some other whatever opportunities we get, we should try to remember Krishna. So first of all, we should remember Krishna in the direct processes. That is like hearing, chanting, dancing, all this. Navida Bhakti is a direct process. Like we are chanting Hare Krishna, so we should mean it. Not that we have chanted 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra, but we didn't realize whose names we chanted. Then that direct process also we have diluted. So much so that we have not realized only what I have chanted. So that is very difficult. If we are not chanting properly, then how can we remember? On beads we are not chanting properly. Then off beads, how can we remember Krishna nicely? So that's why whenever we get a chance to practice devotional service, we should be very intense. Then only after that intense practice of devotional service, when we are in material world or when we are circumstances where they are not favorable for to Krishna consciousness, still we will maintain our consciousness and we will survive to the onslaught of material attacks. So that's why we should shield ourselves with a proper practice of devotional service. So when we are completely in association with devotees, we should submerge our consciousness that when we go out in material world with non-devotees association, at least we will survive, not get influenced by them. But if we are very ultra charged with devotional service, and then when we go out, we can make other people also Krishna conscious by our charge. Otherwise, we will get discharged by them. So the pure devotees are such a Mahabhagavats. By seeing them, people chant Hare Krishna. They are the potential mercy givers to all conditioned living entities. They are moving around only for one purpose. What is that?
To make others devotee.
So this is a verse in Bhagavatam. Why the pure devotees, they are moving around. You are able to see? 3.5.3.
Yes,
जनस्य
Prabhuji.
कृष्णात् विमुखस्य दैवात् अधर्मशीलस्य सुदुःखितस्य अनुग्रहायै चरन्ति नूनं भूतानि भव्यानि जनार्दनस्य. Yes, Mataji, you can read.
O my Lord, great philanthropic souls travel on the earth on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to show compassion to the fallen souls who are averse to the sense of subordination to the Lord.
So this is pure devotees, not philanthropic devotees. So the pure devotees, they are traveling around to turn the faces of the people who have turned their faces away from Krishna, to turn them towards Krishna. So this anugrah, this mercy, the pure devotees do on conditioned souls. So such a devotees we should try to associate. With such a people we should associate. We should associate with the people who will remind us about Krishna. Not that we should associate with such a people that we will forget Krishna. That association is dangerous. So where we are remembering Krishna, then Krishna is telling here that within a moment, I will deliver that person from the cycle of birth and death. And from how much long time we have stuck up in this cycle of birth and death. So there is nice prayer of Rutrasur where he prays that I am stuck up in this cycle of birth and death for so many lifetimes. I just show that. So this is a prayer from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 11th chapter by Vrutrasu. What he is praying? मम उत्तम श्लोक जनेषु सख्यं संसार चक्रे भ्रमता स्वकर्मभिः त्वन्माययात्मज दारगेः आशक्त चित्तस्य ननाथ भूयात्. So what he is praying? That I'll open the translation 6:11:27. So what is praying? Somebody can read.
Oh my Lord, my yes, Mataji, you can read.
No, Mataji, please continue.
Oh my Lord, my Master, I am wandering throughout the material world as a result of my fruitive activities. Therefore, I simply seek friendship in the association of your pious and enlightened devotees. My attachment to my body, wife, children, and home is continuing by the spell of your eternal energy. But I wish to be attached to them no longer. Let my consciousness, and everything I have be attached only to you. Hare Krishna.
So this is the effect of association with devotees. That in association of devotees, our attachment towards Krishna should increase. Then that is a real good association. If some association we are not getting attached to Krishna, but we are getting attached to material world, then that is not a real association. So there are Nalkuvar and Manikuru also, they pray in 10th canto. Vani gunanukathane shavano kathayam hasto च कर्मसु मनसा तव पादयोर्न स्मृत्यं शिरस्य तव निवास जगत् प्राणानि दृष्टि सतां दर्शने अस्तु भवत् तनूना. Yes, Mataji, you can read that other Mataji can read.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Henceforward, may all words describe your pastimes. May our ears engage in oral reception of your glories. May our hands, legs, and other senses engage in action pleasing to you. And may our minds always think of your lotus feet. May our heads offer our obeisances to everything within this world, because all the things are also your different forms. And may our eyes see the form of Vaishnavas who are non different from you.
So this way one should associate with devotees. So by their association, one will able to remember Krishna, and by remembering Krishna, what will happen? One cycle of birth and death will be over. Krishna will immediately deliver the devotee who is developed attachment to Krishna consciousness. Devotional service, if it is in our heart, sprouts, then Krishna will immediately, he will pick us up from the cycle of birth and death. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, न धनम न जनम सुंदरी कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनि ईश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिर अहेतुकी त्वयि. So we are not interested in any wealth or any other things, but we are interested in the wealth of devotion. We are interested to serve Vaishnava. We are interested in all devotional activities. By this constantly engaging oneself in Krishna consciousness, one will finish material life in this very life. That he doesn't have to again take birth. No. So this guarantee Krishna is giving in this verse. that Teshaham Samuttartha. Lord will certainly will deliver us. So his promise he will fulfill. But when we will fulfill the expectations set by the Lord. So Lord is expecting from us what? That in all our activities, in all our day-to-day activities, we should somehow bring our consciousness towards Krishna. So this Pundarik Vidyanidhi and all these great souls, they were so advanced that by seeing a cloud, they used to remember Krishna. By seeing peacock feather, they used to remember Krishna. By seeing Tulsi, they used to remember Krishna. So if somebody has fallen in love with Krishna, then anything they see, they will remember Krishna. Their mind will take them towards Krishna. So what to speak about the deities, what to speak about devotees, what to speak about the transcendental narrations of Krishna. They will take everything in relation with Krishna. King Kulashekar, he was so absorbed in the pastimes of Lord Ram that, the narrator, when the speaker said that Ravana has kidnapped Sita, so King Kulashekar went in such a great devotional ecstasy. He at once ordered his Senapati that prepare our army that will attack on Lanka to rescue Mother Sita. And literally he made everybody, the whole army men, to march ahead to Sri Lanka. So that much absorption was developed by King Kulashekar. And such a king, he is praying to Krishna that what benefit, what a blessing he should give to him. Machan Falaidam. So he prays that Majjanma Falamidam Madhukaita Bhare Mad Prarthaniya Madanugrayesheva Tvad Bhrutya Bhrutya Paricharaka Bhrutya Bhrutya Bhrutyasya Bhrutya Itimam Smaralokanatha. So King Kulashekar is praying, oh my Lord, if you at all want to bless me with one blessing, that that I should become devotee of your devotee of your devotee of your devotee. Let me become servant of your servants. So that is what he is praying for. So such a absorption, if somebody has, then certainly Krishna will deliver them within no time. So we should try to become that kind of devotee. That is the success of our spiritual endeavors. Okay. So we'll stop here. We'll meet next Saturday. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.